Have you heard about the story of Esther in the Bible? Her book is actually called by her name, Esther. But there were two men in that story that I want to talk to you about today. One was named Xerxes, and the other was named Mordecai. Mordecai was actually the uncle of Esther. Her parents passed when she was young, and that was either his brother or his sister's child. So Esther became Mordecai's child. He raised her as his own. He was a good father to her. But one thing that caught my eye when I was reading about Esther's story was that Mordecai wasn't the kind of dad that bent easily. He didn't bend easily. When the king of the territory that Esther was in, he wanted to, he had one of his friends going about, and anyway, it became a thing where everybody was bound towards Xerxes, king. Xerxes, is that right? Anyway, Mordecai wouldn't bow because he was of Jewish descent, and it said in the book of Esther that he wouldn't, I believe it said bend or bow, whenever Haman, which was the guy that the king's friend, came around. So when everybody else was doing what was commanded by the king, Mordecai didn't do that because he knew that his relationship with God was of more importance, more value, and that he would never bow down to any other than God. Made me think of the three Hebrew children, because they refused to bow down to the king Nebuchadnezzar. And if you know that story, I think it's in the book of Daniel. That's the story where the three Hebrew children were thrown into the furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they turned it up hotter because the king wasn't convinced that they were getting what they deserved for not bowing in his presence. And I remember always what the three Hebrew children said. Well, no, I can't remember. They wouldn't bend and they wouldn't bow. And basically they were saying, if God shows up in the furnace or not in the furnace, doesn't matter, we're not bowing to you. Because whatever, our hearts are for God. So whatever you do, you go ahead and do. And they didn't bend or bow. And the king of that day said, I see 4 men standing in the fire, and the 4th looks like the Son of God. Yeah. But back to Mordecai. He wouldn't bend or bow to this, the friend of the king, Hamas. And so there was a plot sent out to kill all the Jews, and that's where the book of Esther starts coming into play, where Mordecai lets Esther know that she can go to the king and risk her life, or she can stay quiet and risk her life because of her Jewish descent. And her words were, similar to the words of Job in the book of Job, where he said Job was suffering, man. He lost all his livelihood, all his children were killed, his wife wasn't being that great to him, his friends were not being that great, his physical body was in torment, his heart was broken, everything in him was bad. And he said, though the Lord slay me, yet will I trust him. Yeah. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible, and it says, we have not resisted to bloodshed for the call of Christ. some people have in this world. I hope this helps you think about it.